Recently, House Bill 4793 was signed into law that would allow West Virginia residents 21 or older to manufacture a limited amount of alcoholic liquor for personal use. This morning, several residents in the Princeton area took a class that showed them how to make their own still. Our Austin Harmon brings us there.
A unique learning opportunity arrived in Princeton Saturday as folks learn how to create their own alcoholic drinks. Hosted by the Blue Ridge Bee Company on Mercer Street, this class shows people to put together a 5 or 10-gallon still to produce their beverage. As of this year, it is now legal for folks in the Mountain State to make their own alcohol for personal use, which the store owner says provides a unique opportunity.
When I posted on there that it would, that you were able to actually home distill in the state of West Virginia, it really took off. It got shared a bunch, and we had a lot of interest in the class. And
moonshiners both locally and out of state answered the call when they were asked to bring their experience to the table. A brand ambassador for distillers in West Virginia, Chris Fortner says he's been in the industry for several years and is excited to help folks get involved in the distilling community, not only to learn the ins and outs, but to get interest in learning about their heritage.
It takes you back, and then you start digging, and 9 times out of 10, I'd say several of them folks in there and their family's histories, somebody was a moonshiner.
Tradition and history here are some of the key draws in not only participants' interest, but as House of Delegate Doug Smith says, it's one of the reasons he pushed for this legalization in the first place.
It's our history and our heritage here in West Virginia. People that are in this class today are learning how to do something that many of our forefathers used to do.
Smith adds this is another excellent opportunity for the community, as it can serve as another way for economic growth.
Somebody can learn something here and maybe go farther and open a distillery someday or work for a distillery, and that's even more economic development here in West Virginia.
Here for you in Princeton, Austin Harmon, WVVA News.
Thank you for that report, Austin. The Blue Ridge Bee Company says that they will not be taking any more participants at the moment, but they do plan on hosting another class this year. Lambert asked that those interested to follow their Facebook page to stay up to date. Now stick with